Dr. Robert Paul hit on several points which compelled me to share with you some of the reasons why I support the campaign of Ron Paul for president. My name is Bronson Bush. I'm a 9-year veteran of active duty military service. I am a life member of the VFW. I was born into welfare to a single mother on food stamps. As such, I was indoctrinated into dependency on the government to serve as my protector and provider. I've been a lifelong Democrat, straight ticket voter, a godless, secular liberal who desires peace but feels ashamed of that impulse because I'm convinced it's a symptom of weakness. As a child, I witnessed violent crime, the use and economy of illicit drugs, teen pregnancy, premature deaths, and overall contentment to live in impoverished and squalid conditions. And that wasn't on the streets, that was in my public school, which by law and lack of options, I was forced to attend. That school system, the St. Louis public school system, has since lost its accreditation. I'm still not sure if my high school diploma means anything, and predictably, they didn't teach me very much, except how to pass standardized exams and to never question authority and never foster ambition, I suppose. Don't dream, don't question, basically is the summation of my experience there. Eventually I came to learn that situations like the one I grew up in are entirely predictable results of a false paradigm which promotes left versus right and rich versus poor, where the government always has a plan which is the solution to all your problems, although we've yet to actually realize any successful completion of those promises, successful realization of those promises, I should say. In 2004, I was a very active John Kerry supporter in response to the disaster of the George Bush administration, which seemed to have refined Orwellian doublespeak into American perfection. It was a ghastly, barbaric destruction of American global reputation, and I worked very hard to outreach to people and provide them with evidence, but the country was still in such a wave of circled wagon patriotism in the wake of 9/11. Most people were indifferent to proof. It was toe the line or be un-American, and we still see the residual of that today. After what was possibly a consecutive stolen election thanks to first Katherine Harris and then Ken Blackwell, and the subsequent heartbreaking concession of John Kerry, I began to re-examine the oath that I had taken to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. So there I was, overseas, separated from my family, in harm's way, in support of a politically and financially motivated war of aggression, which by that time in 2004 had already begun to reveal itself as having been sold on a false bill of goods. And then it started to make sense to me. I started to get it. And it was that it wasn't a matter of personal politicians that was the problem, our particular party positions. It was the two-party system itself, the two parties serving as the two sides of the same coin, and a system whose primary function had come to be the division and distraction of the public, while all along hidden from view occurred a consolidation of power and a redistribution of wealth upward and outward. And I realized that at that point it wasn't a matter of left versus right or rich versus poor. It's not a matter of overt class warfare. It's a government of entrenched and expanding bureaucracy coupled with corporate cronies and elite old money families that form a very concentrated nucleus of power and wealth. And it's that juggernaut versus every single citizen who has either been lulled into complacent, disinterested indifference, or is being actively distracted by the mainstream media by wedge issues and shell games of rotating moral outrages or the constant threat of imminent danger, be it the boogeyman, Al-Qaeda, or the civil liberties of a same-sex couple who you've never seen and will never meet. You are feel compelled to pass judgment on it because it's the storyline fed to you on every channel every day. And I started to realize this and reject it. Even, good places to hear news that you wouldn't otherwise hear. The internet is a godsend. But also, if you watch the English versions of Al Jazeera or RT, Russia Today, they have a lot of really well-reported, well-researched stories that are completely unrepresented and are unrepresented in our supposed free press. And along the way, I learned about the Federal Reserve and fractional central banking and the boondoggle of fiat currencies, and then the subsequent crisis of American debt structure. And this is all pre-2008, 2007. I picked up a copy of Ron Paul's Common Sense 2 booklet, which really, when I first picked it up, it shocked me, and it made me angry, and then it made me feel stupid, and then it made sense. It tied all the threads together where things were discordant and confusing and really constructed in such a way to where I felt helpless. All of a sudden, when you understand that there is a design behind all this, it's not just absolute chaos, it's working towards some end. It made really just, a ton of sense, and I actually took comfort in my exploitation because I finally understood it. But the debt really is what first perked my ears up and made me take action, because the collateral on those trillions of dollars in government debt is the physical labor of the American taxpayer. Our government has pledged a portion of each worker's life to be spent in service towards debt assumed in our name. And as a result, freedom and liberty have become euphemisms for wage and tax servitude. And I wish that this was hyperbole, but IRS raiding parties kicking in doors with machine guns suggest that it's not hyperbole, but the reality of life in America today. If you don't pay the government's pound of flesh on demand, then you very likely can be insulted and squirreled away in a jail for nonviolent crimes, which are also unconstitutional, but you can't even make that argument in many courts today. So when the government demands its pound of flesh, I think the American people need the ability to opt out. We do not have that ability currently, but we need one. Because liberty is the ability to opt out of failed policies like Social Security and the Department of Education, the eventuality of socialized health care, and liberty is also the freedom to actually own private property without being in an annual risk of default and confiscation. You should be able to own private property such as land, and you should be able to own the fruits of your own labor without having to pay the government first before you ever see your money. And you should have the right to vote with your feet by moving your money to a better environment. But that is also strictly verboten.